What is up, you guys? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for being here with me again. For those of you who are already part of the family, for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Kiara Selena, also known as Nurse Key, and on my channel I talk about nursing, feminine health, beauty, lifestyle, and finance. So if by the end of this video you like what you see and you want to see more content like this from me, don't forget to join the family by subscribing, as well as turning on your notification bell to be notified when I post future content, because I promise you don't want to miss, okay? Alright, so in this video, we are going to be talking about feminine health, and we are going to be going over something that has been trending lately. And a lot of you are going to say, well, no, this hasn't been trending lately. This is something that's been done for centuries, that has been done for hundreds of years. This is not new. No, it's not necessarily a practice that is new, but it's definitely something that has been trending on social media a lot more than it was before. And that is Yoni pearls. I've gotten so many questions about Yoni pearls ever since I made my Yoni steam video. People have been asking me if I think it's safe to give my personal medical nursing advice and my opinion on Yoni pearls and whether or not you should use it. And that is what I want to talk about today. So let's get into this Yoni pearl business because, child, it's a little scary. All right, so the very first thing I want to make clear to you guys, because ever since I started making healthcare videos or feminine health videos, one thing I noticed is that a lot of young adults, a lot of young teens are reaching out to me and they're completely clueless about the way their bodies works. And there's nothing wrong with that. You may not have somebody there to teach you, but one thing I need you guys to understand, and this is basic information, I just need you guys to know that Alright, so Yoni pearls versus Yoni steaming, right? I'm just gonna go into the reason why I never made a Yoni pearl video, the reason why I never tried Yoni pearls. I'm just gonna give you guys my opinion on Yoni pearls and why I personally prefer Yoni steaming, right? So number one, okay, the whole Yoni pearling thing. So for those of you who don't know what Yoni pearls are, they're basically these they kind of look like tea bags. They're like balls filled with herbs, different types of herbs that you insert into your vagina. The instructions is basically to insert 3 things up in your vagina for up to 72 hours in order for these herbs to detox your uterine space, your vagina, right? So all the bad bacteria or whatever that has been lingering up in your uterine space is supposed to be magically pulled out by these herbal balls, and you're supposed to see all types of things coming out of your vagina once using these things. So the first thing I want to make very clear to you, your uterine space and your vagina, they are basically self-cleaning. They are independent women and they don't like being told what to do, okay? So you don't need any herbal balls. You don't need to put anything up there in order for your uterine space or in order for your vagina to be cleaned out, right? Every month when you menstruate, the lining of your uterus is shed and you have a brand new lining. Every single month, when you release your egg, if your egg is not fertilized, that is released with the lining of your uterus as well, and you get a brand new egg. Every single day, you produce a little bit of discharge that's there to also help with the cleansing and the cleaning of that whole area. So you do not need any type of herbal balls or herbal anything really to clean your space, your uterine space or your vagina out. Now, a lot of people will think, well, why are people promoting, suppositories or probiotic suppositories if your vagina is automatically self-cleaning? And that's a really good question. Now, when you have a known infection, whether it be a yeast infection or a bacterial vaginosis, when you know that there's a throw off in your pH, when you know that there is an invasion of foreign bacteria in that space, when you know that, there's an infection present, when you put these suppositories in, you're not necessarily putting the suppositories in because you want a uterine cleanse. No, you're putting these suppositories in so that the probiotics in the suppository can attack the foreign bacteria and get rid of it so that it can regulate your vaginal pH, right? So there's a difference. You're putting these suppositories in to attack something that you know is there. But when it comes to Yoni steaming, there doesn't necessarily have to be anything wrong with your vagina. A lot of women don't have any symptoms of anything at all. They're just doing it because they think that they have some backed up bacteria or something that's just lingering in their uterine space that they can't see, that they can feel, and they're expecting these balls, these Yoni pearls to get rid of it. So that is the difference between, suppositories or creams and gels and stuff like that that are designed to fight against infection versus just putting things up in your vagina when you have no signs of infection or anything like that, expecting for this thing to magically pull out things that you think might be up there, if that makes sense. So that's the first thing. The Next thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the ingredients in some of these Yoni pearls, y'all. I know that there are different companies out there that produce Yoni pearls, but if you guys look at these ingredients, it's literally like some of them are a little bit ridiculous. Like, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but I just want to tell you guys to be careful with the ingredients in these different Yoni pearl brands. I also ordered a pack of Yoni pearls just to see what they look like. And some of them smell like straight up mothballs. Y'all don't want to be putting mothballs in your vagina. Like, that's just not it, sis. Like, it just ain't it. So be very careful with these ingredients. Once again, nothing should be going in your vagina to cleanse your vagina because it does that on its own. But when you look at these ingredients, child, like, that's just begging for a problem. So that's the next thing I really need you guys to pay attention to. Really read the ingredients in these products, research the ingredients in these products, and see if it's safe for you. All right, the next thing is toxic shock syndrome. Now I'm gonna get real nursey and real medical with you guys because this is something that you guys really need to take into consideration. Now, toxic shock syndrome, okay, it's a tongue twister, so we're just gonna call it TSS, okay? TSS is literally, it's a rare but yet fatal condition, okay? And it's very close to sepsis, which is basically just an infection of the blood, right? When you put these things up in your vagina, first of all, nothing should be up in your vagina for more than 28 hours. Everybody knows that there's a risk of TSS when it comes to simple things like tampons if you leave them in for too long, right? So there's already a risk of TSS if you put anything in your vagina for up to 28 hours. And these people are requiring for you to put these balls up in your vagina for up to 72 hours. Now, problem number one, the little balls that this comes in, the little cotton cloth that it comes in, right? These things are pretty harsh. So when you put it up there, already you're putting yourself at risk of basically creating microscopic tears in your vagina, right? That's number one. Number two, you need to understand that herbs are supposed to be kept in a certain environment. And usually, I'm not a herbalist, I'm not a homeopath or anything like that, but usually when you have herbs, they are kept in a cabinet in a dry, cool area, right? A cabinet is not necessarily something that is super warm. It's usually a pretty cool environment, right? So herbs are supposed to be put in that environment. When you think of your vagina, do you think dry and cool? Because if your vagina is dry and cool, there's a problem. Your vagina is not supposed to be dry and cool. It's a warm and moist environment. And when you're putting these herbs that are meant to stay in dry and cool environments in this environment that's completely different, it changes. You guys need to understand that just because something is plant-based doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, right? It may be good if you use it a certain way, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be good for you if you use it any type of way, right? So you're putting this thing that's supposed to be kept in a dry, cool environment, in a warm, moist environment. What do you think is gonna happen? The herbs are gonna change. And remember that herbs can actually mold. They can mold, they can change, a whole bunch of things that can happen. And do you really need mold growing in your coochie, girl? Do you? I really don't think you do. And once again, microscopic tears can be created by like this cloth-like type of, like this rough type of texture that the balls come in. So imagine if you keep this thing in your vagina for 72 hours. One, bacteria is gonna grow on it. Two, there's a potential of molding. There's a risk of these herbs changing. And in three, there's a risk that this bacteria that's gonna build up in that environment for those 72 hours to get into those microscopic tears. And then what happens? That thing gets into your bloodstream. And baby, I'm coming to you as a nurse, okay? You don't want these IV antibiotics. I've taken antibiotics PO, which means by mouth. I've taken them PO, and no, they make me feel really, really shitty. And I promise you that you do not want IV antibiotics. I've had both, and it's just, like, that's just not what you want to be on. You don't want to end up with sepsis and a whole bunch of things that can be life-threatening, that can be fatal, just because you wanted to put something in your vagina that's supposed to do something that your vagina is already designed to do on its own. So keep that in mind, okay? Be wise, research, learn about your body before you start putting things into your body. Don't allow social media influencers to influence you to try these things, and just because they try something and it seems to have worked out for them doesn't mean that it's gonna have the same effect on you. Another thing I want you guys to take into consideration is that when you see these thumbnails or when you look at these videos talking about these Yoni pearls, it will tell you, oh my god, look what came out of me. Sis, no shit, you had clumpy discharge coming out of you, girl. That ain't the Yoni pearl. That's a yeast infection, baby. And that's just that. Like, that's just that. Obviously, you're gonna have a whole bunch of abnormal discharge coming out of your body when you're putting something that's literally gonna, like, it's basically a call for an infection. You're begging for an infection. And then when you get an infection and you have this clumpy green discharge coming out of you, you're talking about, look at what the Yoni pearl took out of me. No, that's not what the Yoni pearl took out of you. That is what the Yoni pearl created. It gave you an infection. You have an infection. Go see a doctor and get some antibiotics. Stat. And that's just that, okay? Another thing that I really want you guys to understand is that when God created this beautiful, magical thing called a body, there's nothing he did by mistake. Everything was purposely calculated and everything was designed to do what it was supposed to do, right? When something gets into your eye, your body's natural response is to tear up. That is your body's natural response to get that foreign bacteria out of your eye. When something gets into your nose, your body's natural response is to sneeze. When something gets into your throat, your body's natural response is to cough. So your body knows how to get rid of things that are not meant to be in your body. So when you put these Yoni pearls up in your coochie, girl, and you're saying, oh, I'm feeling a little cramp and I'm feeling a little pulling, I guess that's the Yoni pearl pulling the bad toxins out of my uterine space. Baby, that is not the Yoni pearl pulling nothing out of your Yoni space. The only thing that is pulling anything from that space is your uterus itself. The contractions you're feeling, the cramping you're feeling, that is literally your uterus saying, what the hell is this shit up in here? Get this shit out. And it's pulling it out on its own. And that's just that. Your uterus isn't contracting for no reason. It's literally begging you for air. It's telling you to get this foreign stuff that's not supposed to be in here out of here as soon as possible, please. So that is the reason why you're feeling cramping and you're feeling pulling. No, your Yoni pearls are not pulling anything out of your uterus. Your uterus is pulling the Yoni pearl out of your uterus. Okay? So that's another thing that I really want to make clear, because a lot of you are under the impression that just because you're feeling some cramping and some pulling, that the Yoni pearl is pulling something out. When in reality, your uterus is literally just rejecting this thing. All right, so this is basically my take on Yoni pearls, okay? Personally, do I think that Yoni steaming is better? I definitely think that Yoni steaming is better. And there are a lot of OBGYNs out there that will agree that Yoni steaming is better. Now, there are some risks also associated with Yoni steaming, but the risks are very minimal. Like, you might get a yeast infection or things like that. But what I personally use Yoni steaming for is to help me with circulation. I have really, really bad periods and I have a really hard time passing like blood clots and stuff like that. And a lot of OBGYNs have agreed that Yoni steaming can help with circulation in that area. So if you have problems with, period cramps or things like that, Yoni steaming can actually help you with those things. But in terms of fatal risks, there are no fatal risks associated with Yoni steaming. Whereas with Yoni pearls, there's a lot more risks when it comes to infections, when it comes to toxic shock syndrome, when it comes to a whole bunch of fatal things. And like, once again, the ingredients and stuff like that, it's just a no. At least when you get, like, if you want a Yoni steam, you don't necessarily have to buy like Yoni steam packets. You can actually just put things that you have in your kitchen on your own and you know exactly what it is that you're Yoni steaming with. So there's a lot less risks that way. But with Yoni pearls, one, they can write something on a label. You don't know what's actually in there. You don't know where it was created. You don't know whose hands touched it, if their hands were clean. You don't know nothing. And once again, that TSS is just, it's a risk that's big enough to where you should literally stop, think, pause, and just forget about that whole idea. So is Yoni steaming safer? In my personal opinion, it definitely is. And a lot of doctors' opinions, they would rather you Yoni steam than you Yoni pearl. So that is my take. If you guys have any other information you guys would like to share, any experiences, make sure you leave it down below in the comments. Make sure you share this video if you know anybody who is Yoni steaming, or not Yoni steaming, who is using Yoni pearls. and you know it's unsafe for them, share this content so that everybody can learn from this. Let's have a discussion. Let's share our own experiences, our own opinions on this. And if you like this information, if you like this content and you are not yet part of the family, but you would like to see more content like this from me, don't forget to join the family by subscribing and turning on your notification bell to be notified when I post future content. Let me know what you think of this video down below. And don't forget, my whole feminine playlist will be down below. My whole skincare playlist will be down below if you guys want to check that out. And I really hope to see you guys in my next one. Bye.